Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Superpowers. I'm Dawn and today it's just me, but I promise Karen will be back shortly. Today I'm going to talk to you all about Yule. And Yule is also known as the winter solstice on December 21st. In modern times, Yule as a solstice celebration is observed by neo-pagans. For Wiccans, Yule is the second Sabbath of the wheel of the year. The first Sabbath is Samhain, otherwise known as Halloween. It's like our New Year.
Some celebrate the holiday with a reenactment of the battle between the Holly King and the Oak King. If we think of oak trees, we know that they lose their leaves in the fall, where the holly is an evergreen. The Holly King
represents darkness, and the Oak King represents light. So they duke it out on December 21st, and the Oak King wins, giving way to the lighter half of the year. Also known, just as a little extra bit, if you've ever heard of waning moon, waxing moon, the way that I actually remember what it is from the old Karate Kid movies, wax on, wax off. So if you think of the moon becoming fuller, brighter, that's waxing, so wax on. And when the moon goes from full moon to new moon, gets less and less, it's waning. And we actually have that split up to two parts of the year as well. So from summer solstice to winter solstice, we are waning because it's getting darker. And then once we hit Yule and the winter solstice, then it becomes lighter. So it's the waxing half of the year. So you learn something new there. So there's a few things that we can talk about when it comes to Yule. And the first one I thought I would talk about is the Yule tree. And now most of us probably know it as a Christmas tree. And originally what people would do is they looked at these evergreens as evergreen, as in eternal life. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere right now, you will recognize that it's quite desolate out there. Everything looks like it's dead. But the evergreens stay lively. So a lot of people would embrace these trees and even cut them down and bring them into their home to represent that life, that vital force, and to give hope that one day when the sun returns from the darkness, that there will be plenty of crops and life and so on and so forth. So that's where the Christmas tree comes from. So it's a Yule tree. People would bring it in and they would light candles and put the candles on the trees to symbolize solar energy, to draw in that solar energy, because they want to reclaim the sun. They want the sun to come back. It's the darkest hours, right? So they want to bring the sun back, and they would do that by lighting candles and putting it on the tree. Nowadays, we know that that's a fire hazard, so you will probably notice that if you have a Christmas tree and you put string lights on it, that those lights tend to look like little flames. So there's probably that connection there. And then the other thing that we tend to do when we're decorating a tree is put orbs. And these orbs represent the sun, right? Solar energy again. And we tend to decorate them with colors like green, red, and gold. And if we think about what those colors symbolize, it's all abundance, prosperity, protection, health, and enlightenment, and of course, light. So that's kind of where the Christmas colors come from. Another thing that we do on the Christmas tree is we put a star at the top. And again, representing the sun, the stars, the solar energy, light in itself. So that's where that comes from. And then if you think about like a good old-fashioned type of Christmas decoration crafting, you would think of popcorn being strung together and maybe some cranberries being strung together and putting those around the tree. So we think of popcorn and cranberries and even oranges as Christmas food, but popcorn and cranberries both represent protection, and oranges, again, oranges are sun-kissed. So oranges represent bringing in that sunlight, that energy. So there is the evergreens because they're evergreen, but there are some other plants that tend to also symbolize Yule or Christmas. And when we think about it, we think of maybe mistletoe, kissing underneath the mistletoe. Well, mistletoe used to be brought in because it could be harvested at that time. And when we brought it into our homes, it symbolized protection, but fertility. which brought more abundance, right? More family members, more babies. And even just if we think about fertility with plants, making sure that when spring comes, we have an abundance of crops. So that's where mistletoe comes into play. Holly is another plant that we think of with Christmas or Yule. So originally at Yule, holly was harvested and brought into the home because it is a protective plant. So it would guard against the lower energy spirits. Because of the amount of darkness at this time of year, it opens up the veil to allow more spirits to come and go. And so to protect our homes and ourselves from these entities coming into our home, people would use holly as a way of protecting themselves and their homes from these spirits entering. Another Christmas tradition that we are familiar with is Santa Claus. And there are so many different legends on how Kris Kringle, Santa Claus, Père Noël all came to be. But if we're sticking with the Yule tradition, there is Odin, who is known as the Yule Father, aka Father Christmas. At first look, you can see the resemblance between Santa and Odin. So Odin is pretty much known as the old white-bearded traveler in a clad cloak and brimmed hat with the white beard. Sounds like Santa to me. Some fun facts. Odin crosses the sky during the nights of Yule, rewarding the good and punishing the bad. The Vikings and other European peoples believed that Odin raced across the windy night skies, leading his pack of gods, elves, beasts, ancestral spirits in a great hunt against the ice giants and the forces of darkness. Odin was also known as a gift giver. In Norse mythology, there have been instances where Odin is caught giving gifts to humankind. Odin would sometimes show up and provide a worthy person with some special item that they needed. So there's our Santa Claus giving out presents. So a lot of time in neo-paganism and Wiccan, there are beliefs in elves and fairies and elementals. And it just so happens with the Norse gods, when it comes to Yule, dwarfs and elves of Norse mythology were specifically known to be the creators of wondrous things. So that could be where we get the elves in Santa's workshop from. Another practice is that we have Yule logs. Have you ever wondered why it's called a Yule log or what we do with it? Well, originally it would be cut down from evergreen and it would be dressed kind of like what we see in pictures, with candles, maybe some oranges, some cranberries, branches, and it would be set fire. And if it burned for the 12 days of Yule or 12 days of Christmas, then it would represent a year of prosperity coming your way the following year. So in tradition, what they would do is they would burn the log. Nowadays, we might still have a Yule log, but we often find it in a cake, which is a much more fun and festive way to celebrate the Yule log. Now, one of the characters that I'm really interested in is Krampus, which I actually was not familiar with this character at all. And he is kind of like the anti-Santa Claus. He is the opposite to Santa, and legend has it he would travel with Santa, or Saint Nicholas, and while Santa was giving gifts to all the good kids, Krampus would be punishing the naughty kids and giving them lumps of coal. Now, he's no longer really a part of Christmas, but he was quite a devilish figure and is still recognized in a lot of European Christmas cards and decorations. Funny enough, as I was doing research on Krampus, a local actor here in Caledon, Rob Archer, actually played the role of Krampus in the Christmas movie A Christmas Horror Story. And so if you are interested in those types of movies at Christmas, or you want to learn more about Krampus as a character, I'm going to include a link down to that movie from 2015, and you can check out Rob Archer portraying this interesting Yule character. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Spiritual Superpowers. If you did, please give us a like and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. We thank you and have a happy holiday season.